Vrabel talked about at the combine. These wide receivers don't reach the market in free agency. They rarely get traded. If you want a top receiver, you're going to have to draft one, knowing that they think that way. And this kind of like we talked about with Will Campbell. Should we be talking more about Tet McMillan at 4? And there's concerns about his size. No concerns about his size. There's concerns about
speed and athleticism.
Right? But he is that kind of big body X that Vrabel had some success with in Tennessee. He fits the profile of that receiver you can build an offense around. It's the same thing as Will Campbell. For those of us who start the draft in August, right? Back in August, it was, all right, the Patriots probably going to need a wide receiver or a tackle. So it's going to come down to Will Campbell or Tet McMillan because those are the two best players at those positions. That was back in August. You play the whole season, you go through the whole rigmarole, and then it's, well, Will Campbell's arms are short. Tet McMillan might be slow. Okay, well, Abdul Carter's really good. Hey, Travis Hunter might actually get to 4. We didn't think that would happen. What about Tyler Warren? Oh, now is Armand Membu the guy? Should we be talking about Ashton Genty? And we've come all the way around this circle where we're now back. Like, I feel like there's a real chance that by the time we get to April 20th, or 21st, whatever that Monday is before the draft, we're going to be back to, all right, well, is it Will Campbell or is it Tet McMillan? Like, I think there's a real chance we come back around because they may look at Tet McMillan, who is the best receiver in this draft. I don't think the gap is as wide as, well, so here's what's weird about McMillan. I don't think the gap is as wide between him and Matthew Golden as people initially made it out to be. But I also think you're seeing this thing where we had these generational receiver classes for a few years there, right? Marvin Harrison and Malik Neighbors last year.
Yeah.
And the cycle kind of started. So Tet McMillan is the 300-something yard game against New Mexico when everybody's eyes start popping. And then you have the draft people kind of giving the reminder that, hey, he's not Harrison or Neighbors as a prospect. He's still good, but he's not that level. And then that got overcorrected into, oh, Tet McMillan actually sucks. And I feel like we've gone too far the other way. He's still good. The weird thing about Tet McMillan is the trend in the league for the last 5 or so years at wide receiver has been, we are going to find athletes and teach them how to play the position. Athleticism has been the premium at that spot. And if a guy's not as good of a route runner or his hands aren't good.
DK Metcalf.
Right. He's big. He's fat. Well, DK Metcalf is one extreme. And then you have Quentin Johnston on the other side of that. He's big. He's fast. We're just going to teach him how to play the position. Doesn't really matter how technically skilled he is. Tet McMillan is incredibly technically skilled. He has great hands, outstanding catch radius, body control. He's an underrated route runner, especially at the first 2 levels. He can create after the catch. He's slippery with the ball in his hands, but he's not a guy that, like, his RAS score, if he tests, is not going to be good, the relative athletic score. He's not a guy that's going to, blow you away with the testing numbers. So that's so contrary to what the premium has been at the wide receiver position. And I feel like that has somehow gotten translated to bad. But no, I
guess that's how it goes with discourse
right,
these days.
But he's just a different mold. It doesn't mean he's good. It doesn't mean he's going to be good, I should say. It doesn't mean he's going to be bad. He's just different. So I guess that's a long way of saying, Dolloff, how do you feel about Tet McMillan?
I was going to say, what was the question? Now, look, you can't compare this draft to you can't compare drafts to each other, right? Because 1 year you got the loaded receiver class, and then this year you don't have the loaded receiver class. So look, Tet McMillan this year is a top 10 pick. Look, maybe he's not a top 10 pick last year or next year or whatever, but this year you can't say oh, you can't take him at 4. This year you can. So I just feel like that's just sort of how it works out. And you know me, but we've talked a million times
and just
about
for the reference, even if we're going to do that, I would have McMillan close wide receiver 4 last year. I would have a Doomsday just ahead of him, but I would put them Barth's tiers. I would put, I'd put him kind of right there. It is a useful exercise comparing drafts if you kind of want to learn where a player's at as a prospect. But to say, well, he wouldn't be a top 10 pick most years, so he shouldn't be a top 10 pick this year. Well, if there's not 10 players worthy of going ahead of him, then he's a top 10 pick because the guys from those other drafts aren't in this draft. Just trade down. You're not always going to have the option. So that's cross-draft Tet McMillan talk anyway.
It's honestly the same argument Travis Hunter as a wide receiver specifically. look, is he like Jamar Chase as a wide receiver? Probably not. But this year, you draft him in the top 3 or 4 picks because that's where he ranks among the talents in the draft. But just to finish my point, it's like, that I always thought speed little overrated when it comes to receiver. And I don't want to say athleticism is overrated because you want to have athletes, but like, look, Jamar Chase didn't have to be taught how to play receiver. Right. He has everything. He has the size, he has the speed, he has the athleticism, and he knows how to catch the ball. The reason I like Tet McMillan is because, and that's why I'd be less concerned about him being not as athletic as, the comparison Patriots fans will make if they draft Tet McMillan is N'Keal Harry.
It's already going on in the comments.
He knows how to play the position and catch the football like an NFL wide receiver. He is
a better route runner at this point, significantly, than Harry. And that doesn't mean he'll be better, but like, he is a better route runner right now than Harry was coming out of college.
And he's got the hands. He knows how to catch the football. And so, is he going to have the separation of a Jamar Chase? No. Does he have the speed that you want as that true number 1 elite wide receiver? Not necessarily. But this team, this year, he's a top 10 pick. For this team, he'd probably immediately be their number 1 receiver. He'd certainly be the starting outside receiver, I would say, at this point. So, I'm open to the idea of Tet McMillan. Like, in an ideal world, maybe they trade down a few spots and they take him at, 6 or 7 or something like that. But
we have a little breaking news here. This is perfect timing.
Oh, what's this?
I apologize to Tet McMillan for saying earlier he wasn't going to test at the Big 12 Pro Day. According to multiple, I'm trying to find like one of the big ones to read it off of, but according to Jordan Schultz, Tet McMillan, scouts clocked him. This is unofficial, so this can change, at a 4.48.
Ooh.
That's not slow.
That's good enough for me.
Wow.
You know who likes that number? Elliot Wolf.
That's like right in his range, right?
Yeah. In the second round, usually. But yeah.
So how about that?
I like that. See, we're honestly at the stage of the year.
Adjust your take now.
We're at the part of the year where Barth is getting all excited about the draft. This is for the folks at home. And I'm like, I have to catch up. I'm going to really start my draft deep dive this week. So I'm sort of acting like a parent with like a young child, talking about like his favorite toy, telling you about like this thing about his toy that he's really excited about. You have no idea what the kid's talking about, but you have to be like, wow, that's awesome. I mean, I get what you're saying though with the Tet McMillan.
Yeah.
The Tet McMillan 40 time. That's better than the way people talk about him. I thought he'd be over 4.5.
I thought he was going to be, so there's all like guys will run 40s in high school and they get like, the times end up in like the recruiting message boards. Like, you don't know. Do you remember, what was his name? Jordan, the massive kid from Florida State last year.
Jordan.
Hang on.
Johnny Wilson.
So Johnny, he was like massive, right? So there was like a message board rumor last year that he was running in like the 4.3s at that size.
He was too big for me. It was outside of my sweet spot.
Right.
For the sizes.
There was like message board posts that in training leading up to this season, Tet McMillan ran a 4.44, which always felt probably a little fast. But like, would that translate to and it is a pro day 4.48. It's not a combine 4.48. So it's literally, although I don't know, the Big 12 pro day is different. It's not a team running it.
I mean, do they know how to use the stopwatch? Are they using it the same way?
We're getting into the minutiae.
Are they using the same stopwatch that they use at the combine?
If it's one of your coaches clocking it, he's maybe going to be a little more
generous.
Generally, the pro day measurements are a little more favorable.
A little before the foot crosses the line there.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's a great time.
All right. I like that.